George Lamb's Director of Cloud and Software Modernization in the Office of the CIO at the Department of Defense. George, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I told you before we went on the air, had Katie Arrington on the show a couple of weeks ago. She talked about CMMC, the software fast track, a lot of other moving parts around the work that you and your team are doing. How are you putting all of those pieces together so that the person who is using what you're producing, what the department is producing, gets the end result that that person needs for mission delivery and maybe doesn't care about the software underpinnings or the cloud underpinnings or any of that stuff?
We're in this DevSecOps world. And when we say DevSecOps, it just kind of rolls off your tongue, but what is it? It's actually producing something for somebody. When I think in the DevSecOps, the dev world is a lot of what Katie's bringing into the world. The dev is software, it's COTS, it's third-party things. The ops is where it really happens. So how do we get from the dev to the ops is kind of the key. On the ops side, we're looking agile software, breaking down this barrier. So there's two things that are really important in terms of delivery. First is what you produce, and then second is getting there in time so it's relevant. A lot of what Ms. Arrington's looking at is how do we get commercial software into the hands of the end users. Traditional practices, 2 years of requirements definition, 6 months to a year of ATO, operational tests at the end. None of that makes sense anymore. Our team in particular, we love the dev side. We understand the dev side. I think we've proven the dev side. If you look at everything that's been built, Platform One, the dev side works. The ops side is where it's hard. And that's what we're putting a lot of focus in. How do we get programs to adopt the ops side, to push things in so they don't have to go through all these testing? Mm-hmm. One of the big things is taking everything that's on the ops side and pushing it early in the dev cycle. So when you test something, you don't test it at the end, you test it before it gets to the end. When you put something in production, you've already made sure that it's operationally relevant. So that when it gets into production, it's good to go. So that ops side is really what we're trying to focus on, how we get things into the hands of users. And then the second piece of that thing is how do you get the user feedback back to the dev? Like we're good at pushing, but we're not good at like pulling and listening and really understanding. Mm-hmm. So if you deliver something in code, what it actually does in the field needs to get back to the developers. Mm-hmm. And that cycle, which culturally, you're really trying to empower the users to feed back into that first cycle. Mm-hmm. So if you use something, you buy it, use it on your iPhone, there's no requirements, it's just there. You look at it, and if it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, you get something else. Mm-hmm. So we want to give that choice to the end users. We want to push things in. And I think that's kind of where the interesting part happens. At a big level, we were just talking about the what's success measured in the department. At the level that I'm judged a lot of the times is, do the $200 million programs get production, right? It's not like how fast do the factories work, how fast do we deliver? It's, are we delivering successful programs? Are we spending our money wisely? Mm-hmm. And when you take a big program and then you turn it into a DevOps thing and you start doing incremental delivery, it's a cultural change, it's a definition change, it's a functional use change, and that's kind of where the hard part is.
Is it helpful that you have a couple of examples now that the department can hang its hat on? I think about examples that came out of the pandemic with flank speed in the Navy, deployed that and got to the ops piece of that relatively quickly, contextually for the department over time. Is that creating momentum in your view that other organizations go, oh, not only can we do this, but we need to do this, and now we have examples that we can follow?
Yeah, it's like an existence proof.
Yeah.
Until it exists, you're not really sure if it's going to exist. Yeah. We have some amazing examples. We did the State of DevSecOps report back in March, last time we chatted. Mm-hmm. That report's out, and it lists examples of like a really great production example, start to finish. We had that with MEPCON. So the recruiting system, replacing a legacy mainframe-based system with a full DevOps. Sort of the great lesson there was that user experience went up dramatically. So users at the beginning, the program is not quite as functional. They're missing features. And then they get used to that. Every 2 weeks, they get new features. And then they start saying, hey, we'd like these features. And it's not 2 years later, it's like 4 weeks later, the features. And that feedback loop is what really accelerated. So it wasn't so much the change and transformation, it was the cultural piece that went along with it. And if we can get users to accept that and expect that, then they feedback and they say, we want that. And then that's how the cycle really starts going.
Yeah. Yeah, at the beginning of the conversation, when you were talking about the importance of that, I wrote down the term feedback loop that you just used for that reason, because I imagine that perpetuates itself, doesn't it? Once people say, oh, if I tell them I would like to use this thing or this thing didn't work that well and they fixed it, and they actually did it, then they're probably going to be more willing to give you more feedback and give you more feedback and give you more feedback.
Yeah, and it's like, think about the reward benefit. There's nothing more rewarding to a developer than to have that product used. Like if you actually deliver something that somebody in the end uses, like, that's amazing. In the old world, when you deliver code to an operational test community and then a year or two later it goes into production, that feedback loop's missing. So the rewards are missing, the sort of the camaraderie and building of the community, that's missing. And we're seeing that too, like even with what we're doing in continuous ATO. Like ATO is a one-time thing, in 3 months you come back. When you're doing continuous ATO, you're always looking at, okay, the code's being produced, the operational effect is happening, we're watching what's happened in production, we can see the rate of change. But when an anomaly happens, and that's always the fun stuff, when an anomaly happens and you actually get to practice, that's kind of what the guts of continuous ATO is. You practice, you see something that's unexpected, you don't panic, you're like, team comes together, everyone does their job together, and that camaraderie gets built. And that's really what we like to see in the whole DevSecOps community, is the camaraderie and the consistency across the team. And if you're not seeing it in production, it's really hard to get that sort of that team community built.
What you're talking about there too, regarding the continuous ATO process, is striking to me because I think it's the latest example of a culture change, and that is the entire department trying to create tools and use each other's tools instead of we're all going to go grow our own. Lionel Garcia was on the show not long ago talking about how they're doing CATO in the Army and making it specifically so that it can be replicated across the department so the other services don't have to figure it out on their own. What's driving that, and what can you do from your position, and what can your office do to maintain that momentum and get people to think that way about other aspects of cloud and software modernization?
Yeah, we've been talking about CATO for 2.5 years, and it's been very frustrating. But the thing I'm realizing that sort of happened, so at the CIO level, we define 3 attributes for CATO. I think ATO, so you have something to start from, the practice concept, making sure your defenders know how to operate, and then the change management through DevSecOps. And we asked the services to give us pathfinders. We knew their software factories, knew they're operating good. It's like there's good pathfinders. But all of the CISOs were afraid to give something to the CIO until it was perfect. Like, I'm looking for an 80% solution because I know where we are. You know, ATO is only a portion of it, and like, ATO is good, but like, it doesn't have to be 100%. You get to the 80% incremental step. So the concept of accepting risk, like putting something that's 80% in, that's 100% better than what's before, but it's not 100% of where you want to get to. That's been the big challenge of ATO, of CATO. So Leo Garcia in the Army, you know, I've been pushing him for a while. I'm like, please, Leo, we need a pathfinder. And he just came up with 3 of them last week. So he was saying he was working on it, and he sent them over. We got them signed from Leo. Effectively, he said the Army approves these 3 programs for doing continuous ATO. That comes to the CIO. Mr. McEwen's going to have to look at those, make sure that they are meeting his standards. And then we've got pathfinders in the Army. And the great thing about the Defense Department, whoever leads, the followers are right behind you. Right? So you know, the Air Force, as soon as Army's got CATOs, Air Force is going to, and Air Force has great software factories. And I know they're as secure as what Army's already signed off on, so they'll come through. Navy's got the RAISE platform. RAISE platform is a really solid product. That should meet in. So you get a little bit of momentum, just a couple of, you know, we prove existence, and then we prove that we can do this a little bit faster, and then we get competition. Right, now who's going to be the most secure? It doesn't really matter. They're all going to be much more secure than we were before. We're getting product through much faster. Every 3 years we want to get recompete because we're practicing every day. We're getting the change management. We've got more information about what's in the field. So yeah, it's pretty exciting when we actually, you know, get over this. It takes a long time, but yeah, I feel like we're right on the cusp. Mr. Garcia signing those 3, that was huge. So, and I know Mr. McEwen, he's going to have to examine them. So there's still a little bit of, you know, make sure it's appropriate for all the risk levels. But taking that first risk level and then distributing the risk down. So, it's not the AO that's taking full responsibility. It's the team, it's the cyber defenders, it's the developers, it's the users, it's the anomaly, it's the AI that we have bringing this all together. All that sort of fitting together makes this, it operates as a community.
It's always great to talk to you, George. I appreciate your time today.
I love being here and talking to you, Francis. Thank you.